Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Unplugged Stanford. I am your host, Tim Land, here, and we are here with Brooke Wanser, who is the Associate Editor of the Franklin homepage, which is a part of the Homepage Media Group. How's it going, Brooke?
It's going well, Tim. How are you doing?
It's going great. So let's launch in here. Tell me a little bit about your career path. You went to school at Northwestern. So tell me about you graduated from Northwestern, and what do you go off and do?
So I went to Northwestern, and I went there because, one, I was recruited for swimming there, and two, it was a good journalism school, and I knew I wanted to do journalism. Even though I had no experience doing journalism in high school, I liked writing and I liked talking to people, so I decided that's what I wanted to do. So I went there. I was involved in a couple of different organizations. In school, I decided I liked sort of investigative reporting and that type of thing. I was a magazine. That was my concentration, magazine, but I did not end up writing in a magazine. I interned at a couple, and it was a little bit too slow-paced for me. I graduated last year, June 2016, and I went to work in Las Vegas. I was an intern at the Las Vegas Review-Journal for 9 months. And yeah, that didn't end up working out because they didn't have a position for me at the end of my internship because of the budget. And later I was offered a position there, but I decided it was time to leave Las Vegas. And I'd wanted to move to the Nashville area for a little while. So I found a job out in Franklin, where I live now. That's about 20 miles south of Nashville. And I live and work here now, and I love it.
Awesome. So can you tell me a little bit more about those internships? Because I know we actually, at Beam, we've done a couple events focused around magazines and everything like that. So can you tell me a little bit more about those experiences, and maybe a little bit of a preview of if a student was going to intern at a magazine, and what that would look like?
Yeah, so my first internship was I'm from Orange County in California originally, and my first internship was a local magazine there, Orange Coast, and that it's very much, if you do magazine internships, you're going to do a lot of sort of administrative stuff, a lot of fact checking, and not so much writing. I was attracted to magazine as a major because I like more long form writing. But if you work at a magazine, chances are you're not going to be doing so much writing. Chances are you're going to be doing a lot of editing. Instead, a lot of their writers are not on staff necessarily. A lot of them are freelance writers. But that was good for me because I got to understand the whole editorial process. And then a while later, I interned at Reader's Digest. That was my junior year of college, and that was part of a program my school had where you have to take a quarter and go intern somewhere at a publication. So I lived in New York for a quarter. I hated New York, but I learned a lot from that experience. Reader's Digest also, I think that internship kind of cemented in my mind, okay, I don't want to work in a magazine. But again, it was good because I had to do a lot of the little nitpicky things. Like, it was my job to transcribe people's audio and send them that, which I now do for myself all the time. And I'm pretty quick at it because I've done it a lot. Just a lot of research into other people's stories, which is kind of menial, but it's a good place to start. And I'm glad I had to do that now. And I still do it for myself. Yeah, that just was kind of like building the background and just getting down the basics in journalism. And then my first real sort of internship that I really cared about and was really, really interested in and got to do some cool stuff was my school has something called the Medill Justice Project. And that is an investigative journalism nonprofit. And it started off for me as a class. You can take a class in the school, and that meets like three or 4 hours once a week. And we basically get a case where somebody has been convicted of a crime and they're in prison, or it can be various stages in the legal process, but somebody has been accused or convicted of a crime and they say, no, I didn't do this. Will you look into my case? And so we gather research, we look at medical documents, we look at court documents, read trial transcripts sometimes, and try to do research to see if they did do it or not. And a lot of times this has to do with wrongful conviction. So they have published stories that have helped exonerate people. And that's not always what happens, But and in what I did, that wasn't the case. I don't think when I took the class, we didn't end up writing a story because we couldn't come to a conclusion about what happened in this case. But it was still that kind of lit the fire in me to do that kind of work. And then I interned that summer, and we got to travel to Oregon. We got to check out a women's prison. We wrote about women's issues in prison. And so now, to me, issues about prison are really interesting, and I want to do some more work on that kind of stuff. But yeah, those are some of my internships.
Awesome. Fantastic. So I know you're working on a big project right now for the Franklin homepage. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And also maybe through the lens of, these are some skills that I'm applying in this project that I picked up along the way that I think are important.
Sure. So my project right now, where I work, it's a very small organization. It is basically an online newspaper. We don't have a print product, but a lot of people in the community do read it. It is very much this community. And Franklin is a town of about 75,000 people, and it's in Williamson County, which is the 7th wealthiest county in America. So people here are smart, they're educated, and they're wealthy. So it's an interesting place to work. This project I'm working on, when I first moved here, my boss said, we need to do a story about suicide, and suicides particularly from this bridge in my county. And this bridge is along the Natchez Trace Parkway, which is a 444-mile long parkway that stretches from Nashville to Natchez, Mississippi. It's a national park, and a lot of people have jumped off this bridge and died by suicide. So suicide is a problem in the county, and I'm looking at it through the lens of this bridge because I don't think anyone was aware of how many people have actually died there. So I first started looking at it and thinking, oh, this will be a story. But now it's kind of evolved, and I've done a lot of research over the past couple of months, and it's going to be a 4-part series looking at the history of the bridge, because it's got a crazy history, especially in the local community. It was built in 1993. And the history of the bridge, one woman whose son died of suicide there last year. I talked to her yesterday. And then there's going to be a part on federal authorities, on what their jurisdiction is over it, and local authorities. And then the last part is going to be talking about solutions to work on the problem. So maybe there was another part of your question there that I didn't answer.
Yeah. So that's an awesome project. Can you tell me a little bit about different skills that you've picked up along the way that you're applying on this project?
Yeah. So the research part is, to me, everywhere I go, and it's interesting because in this community, suicide is something that happens a lot, but it's not talked about a lot. And I think people want to move towards talking about it because people here are very progressive, but I don't know that they know how. So I'm hoping that this series can spark that conversation. The skills I use is I'm just very naturally curious. And so every time I meet someone, it's not the first thing I bring up in conversation, but there are some people here I see several times a week, and those kind of people I'll say, or the bridge will just come up because it's a huge bridge. It's won tons of design awards. It'll just come up, and I'll ask different people about it, or who do you think I should talk to about this? And that's how I found some of my best sources, is just asking different people about it. And that's just having it in the back of your mind and being persistent. I've looked at a fair amount of data. I had to file a couple of FOIA requests, and those are Freedom of Information Act requests, through the national park system to get the number of people who have died there. And it's funny because the first document they gave me didn't have everyone on it. I went to the county sheriff. I got him to talk to me and give me their list of people. And they had some additional people. And then I went back to the National Park Service and talked to them some more. And they said, oh, we made a mistake. We have these other people. So I had to kind of keep going back and getting more information because things changed. And they lost a lot of data too. So federal government, you would think they'd keep really good records, but they don't. They are susceptible to data breaches and just losing and data systems crashing, which is what happened to them. So I think that's really important to check things again. But for me, I learned in college how to file a FOIA request. It's really simple. Anyone can do it, but I don't know. A lot of people I don't think know how to. I don't know what else. Talking about suicide is hard. It's not hard for me because I haven't written a ton about it, but I have written a fair amount of stories now dealing with suicide and mental illness. And that topic is interesting to me. I have struggled with mental illness when I was younger, in high school and in college. So I feel like I have got a good place to talk to people from about that. And I mean, the woman I talked to yesterday, we talked for over 2 hours about her son. And I felt like it was a really good conversation, not just for me as a reporter, but for her as a mom who lost a child. I think it was helpful for her to talk to someone and feel like she's coming out with a story that could help people. So I don't know if any of those are particularly concrete, but yeah.
Yeah, those totally are. Thank you. Okay, last section here. Can you give students some advice on how to map out different careers or different passions and connecting those to a career while they are still in school?
Yeah, well, you go to Stanford, and so I assume it was similar to my school. A lot of people had an idea what they wanted to do, and some people had absolutely no idea what they wanted to do. I found with a lot of my friends, they didn't really know what they wanted to do, and I kind of always did, but I don't know. I always kind of knew what I wanted to do. And now that's sort of changing, but that's a different story. If you don't know what you want to do, I think the best way to learn is getting involved with groups on your campus. If you see something that's like ultimate frisbee and you really like sports or something, get involved with that. Like, who knows? The thing is, who knows who you're going to meet through groups that will spark your interest in something else. So, I mean, do as much as you can to learn about yourself, because I mean, college is about discovering yourself, as cliche as that sounds. You can't figure out what you want to do unless you know yourself pretty well and know what your strengths are. Once you kind of have an idea what you want to do and you're like, oh, I'm good at science or I'm good at business, I want to do this, talk to people in those fields about their jobs. And just talk to people in general about their jobs. Like, talk to your parents. Like, my dad is a physicist, and I never talked to him about his job until I got to college, because then I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Yeah, talk to your parents, talk to your parents' friends about their jobs, talk to as many people as you can, because it gives you a better, and I'm just doing this right now too. I'm talking to all sorts of people, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like something I could do. It doesn't ever really end in that sense, you know. It's just a process of constant learning. But yeah. Yeah,
I think you're totally right. All right, well, thank you so much, Brooke, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
All right.
Bye-bye.